ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। वक्रतुंड महाकाय कोटिसूर्य समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वादात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीं अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सत्सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तककेशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम्। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। हरिः ओम्। In the midst of two interrelated topics is the Varna Vyavastha and the Ashrama Vyavastha. So we looked at Varna Vyavastha. Always there's a lot of details which need to go in there, a lot of thinking, a lot of analysis, based on our own inferences, experiences, apprehensions, right? So that will continue. That's a continuous process. The entire Bhagavad Gita will have the opportunity to do that. So the intention here within this 1 hour is just to give an overview, so that we start that thinking process. The Mananam process has to start. So is there any questions or thoughts after the last week's session on the Varna Vyavastha? Now, there were some unanswered questions last week itself. Right? I think one was with respect to the division. Yeah? As to how does the division happens with respect to jati? How does it all start? Where is there a starting point? I think this was one of the questions which was raised. Even if we look at it, forget about the Varna Vyavastha as we know it, the 4 divisions which are there. You look at modern today's society also, we will find that there are groups, and Varna just means a group, right? And in every group to progress, what is required? Any set of people. As an individual, yes, I can set my own rule. If I am the only person in this earth, I can have my own rule. There is no rules. I can live the way I want as a Prakrita Purusha. Right? There is a law of the jungle. Right? There is only the universal laws which are applicable. But the moment there are 2 people, the duality comes in, variations come in. With animals there is no problem. Why? Because there is no free will. The moment it is 2 human beings, right, there is an issue, because both of them have free will. Both their minds will work in different way. However much we may say compatibility, etc., it will work in 2 different minds. Free will is there for both. Therefore, a different set of code of conduct and rules start coming in. Right? So then, if they start living together, they will have to define those rules. Right? In some places you can see house rules. The house rules. For children also we put, these are the rules. Why do you need that? Why do you need that? Peaceful coexistence, harmony. For myself, for the other individuals who are there. Now you extend it into a larger society, you have to have rules. You have to have those code of conducts for human beings. Who sets these code of conduct? Who is setting this? Can it be again left to the choice of every individual? You set your own rules, then everybody will have their own. You have 1,000 people, there will be 1,000 set of rules. Correct? So then there has to be a discussion, there has to be an understanding, there has to be an agreement, saying that yes, we all agree, abide by. In a contractual relationship, you have to sign. I agree. And you have to have punitive measures. If you don't agree, if you violate, what is the punishment? What are the deterrents? This is natural for any group, not just group. 2 people are there, you have to have a code of conduct. Whether it is written or it is verbal, you have to have an understanding, which is inevitable, right? Now, extended to a society, can you go on redefining these rules every time? You cannot, right? So therefore, you come across a common set of rules for a society who are living together in one particular place. A Varna, one group, they will say, yes, we are all settled in this part of the world. Okay, this particular river, we are all settlers of this particular place. This is the common rules to be abided by. As long as it is a small group, everybody will abide by that. They will go by that. So any child who is born in that particular group, which rule they will follow? They have to follow the rule which is applicable to that community, that group. That is jati. That is exactly what is jati. An already predefined rule which is there for a group. A child who is born in that has to abide by those rules. After growing up, the child will start questioning. When will they start questioning the rules?
When they find it difficult to follow.
One is difficulty, yeah, because avoiding, that is human nature, avoid the pain always.
When it hurts.
When it hurts.
Or when they try to find a logic for why.
Logic. There is another major reason why you will start questioning the rules.
When you want to break the rule?
Believing. A child who has seen only white color.
Yeah, that just out of anxiousness or curiosity.
When they see another color, something different from what he or she is practicing or what he or she is told to do, which it does not like to do, then the questioning will come. Oh, that group, why are they not doing what I am doing? It appears that what they are doing is easier. Comparison starts coming in. And then the questioning starts coming in. Rebellion starts coming in. And they are telling, why should I also do this? There is another set of people who are not doing this thing and they are also living happily. Right? But not realizing that these set of rules which were given for this group was based on the experience of the people who were living there for so many years, based on their forefathers. Of course, there will be certain changes which comes according to Desha and Kala. Certain changes come. That's where in Dharma Shastra there are changes which happens. Depending upon the place and time, there are certain rules which has to change. But there are certain universal rules which does not change wherever we are. Okay? So therefore, then the questioning comes, the comparison comes. So that is another jati. That particular child was born in that jati. Yeah, that varna. So that becomes the jati of that particular group. That particular child who is born in that adopts the same group name as where they were born. Right? Now to perpetuate, to maintain these rules, what is required? How will the child learn the rules? Why 1-year-old child, 2-year-old child, how will Tara know what are the rules applicable in this family?
From the parents or grandparents.
Do we have to wait till she starts to read and write and understand and then send her to a class and then tell her that these are the rules of this family? Not possible, right? It has to follow, it has right from the beginning, the learning happens. Even before the child is born into the family, the learning happens. So that can happen only if there are certain practices which are followed by that group. Right? Exactly what we discussed about army, for example. You cannot, that discipline, wherever discipline is involved, rules are involved, rituals will be there, has to be there. There is no other way. Yeah? You will find modern day debates telling that rituals are all not necessary, who has created this, these are not required, etc. But if you just analyze that person's life, they will be following some other rituals or invent new rituals. Eating with the family is a ritual in certain communities now because they have to literally force everybody to sit and eat together. Whereas our tradition has given numerous, it automatically ensured that the family sits and eat together. Right? Celebrating festivals together or praying together, community functions together. It is all rituals have been there to take care of the automatic learning process for the entire community, not just for the starting from the children but even for the adults. If the discipline has to be maintained, rituals has to be there. If my goal is high, discipline has to be there. So there is no getting away from rituals. Now come back to the situation. So this is a particular group settled here, one varna, one group, right? So they would have defined their own rituals already. So a child who is born automatically gets adopted into that system of those particular rituals. For what is the ultimate goal? Harmony. Their own existence, they have to survive, the individual has to survive, individual has to progress, and also at the same time taking care of the family and the society and the entire world and the entire environment. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Everything is sacred. So I have to protect. That is the primary goal. But To attain that, a 1-year-old is not going to understand that, so it has to start with rituals. Yeah? I say that yes, I am an adult, the body is grown up, but my mind is still that of a child, so therefore I still need to continue in that path in terms of accepting, yes, this is given, with the understanding that this is given for my own growth, my own benefit. If I am able to understand a little more deeper, well, that's a bonus. Till that time, continue just practicing. Right? So therefore, the practices or rituals which are given as a set of rules for whether it is a Jati Brahmana or a Jati Kshatriya or a Jati Vaishya or Jati Shudra, yes, it starts from when what were they doing earlier. When the initial kind of grouping which was there, based on what karma they were doing. Right? So that is why today also you will find, this is the finance part or an IT part where all IT professionals live, office is nearby. That becomes a community. They will have their own rules. Yes, work is starting at 10 o'clock in the night going on. That becomes a set of rules. So their life also starts revolving around what they are doing today. Correct? But that is, of course, that profession is only based on the consideration of the Arthakama Pradhana. Whereas we are talking about Dharma and Moksha Pradhana. Right? So therefore the set of rules which are there becomes different. And then we find conflicts. My Arthakama Pradhana rules are different from my Dharma Moksha Pradhana rules. Then how do I reconcile? Okay, how do I prioritize? That is where the sadhanas come in, which we will start talking from the next session of Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Sadhana Chatushtayam. All those are the tools which are given. So here now we are talking about the framework which is there. Okay. So we talked about from a Jati standpoint, Varna is from 3 different standpoints, Jati, Karma and Guna. And the individual's goal is in terms of becoming a Guna Brahmana. Yeah, a Guna Brahmana. The progression which is required there. So gradation also we saw, Jatitaha there is no gradation. Yeah. As per karma also there is no gradation. Yes, based on my capability I am doing a certain work which is required again for the society. You need all kinds of workers in a particular company. There will be apparent gradation which is there, but it is with respect to the dignity of work which they are doing. Everybody's work is sacred. It can be even compared to the parts of the body. Yeah, we will find in the Suktam. Yeah. Purusha Suktam itself say Brahmano Sibgama Sid Bahura Janyakritaha Uru Tadasya Yadvaishyaha Patyagum Shudro Ajayata. Parts of the body of Ishvara, Purushaha, we say, in terms of, for a Brahmana karma, again it's not in terms of Jati which is talked about. Brahmanosa Mukhamasit, Brahmana because it implies Veda, it implies knowledge. Bahu Rajanyakridaha, for Kshatriya, Rajas is important and Bahu, arms, work is important. Yeah. Uru Tadasya Yat Vaishyaha. Uru means the thighs. That is the support function which is there, travel which is required, trade which is required. Vaishyaha, Padbyagam, Shudro Ajayada, feet, all other the running around which is required. For the sake of all the other parts of the body, the feet has to do. Does it mean that the feet has got a low status compared? In fact, if you see, puja is always done for pada. It is called as pada puja. Right? You do namaskara, you say touch the feet. Right? So there is no gradation there. All the parts of the body are equally important. You cannot ignore. So it is similar. In terms of work, there is no gradation. In terms of guna, yes, there is a gradation. Yeah? That's why it's all Janmana Jayate Shudraha. Everybody is born as a Shudra with respect to guna. Karmana Dvija Uchyate. Through their karma, the samskaras which are given, the Upanayana karma which is given, the Maunji Bandhanam which is given, you become a Dvija. Normally it is you say, okay, Brahmana is a Dvija, but all the 3 Varnas are Dvijas. Dvija means twice born. There is a Punarjanma. When the Upanayana is done, it is considered as a Punarjanma. Yeah, Tatra Mata Gayatri Acharya Pita Uchyate. Gayatri becomes the mother and the Pita becomes the Guru. The default position is for the father to become the Guru. That's why the Gayatri Mantra Upadesham is done by the father. Right? So that is Dvija. So Janmana Jayade Shudra. Everybody is a Prakrita Purusha till that time. Then Samskaras. Samskara means what? Purification. That's why the language is called Sanskritam, which is pure. So Samskara are the various steps in life which is given for the purification of the individual. The steps which are given. We got 40 samskaras are there. From that also minimize, at least 16 are given. We'll see that in another opportunity. Yeah. So all those things are given at various stages, various age of the individual. Those samskaras are given, so that it is all again leading into becoming a guna brahmana, and therefore there is a gradation there. So our own goal is in terms of moving into the guna brahmana position there. Okay. Now the second related topic which comes there is the ashrama vyavastha. Now we started this discussion by telling that these are infrastructure, right? Any discipline requires an infrastructure. Any journey requires an infrastructure. Any journey to achieve my goal requires an infrastructure. Therefore, the Varna Vyavastha is with respect to the society. That is the societal infrastructure which is there. Whereas the Ashrama Vyavastha which is given is an individual infrastructure or an individual stages of life which is defined and clearly defined and given as to what I should be doing based on my own disposition. Right? So we'll quickly go through that and then take up some discussion there. So what are the ashramas which are there?
Student life.
Start with Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. So there is careful, it is not Grihastha, it is Grihastha. Yeah, Grihastha. Griham means you are at home. Householder. Right? What is the function? What are you supposed to do as a brahmachari?
To get educated.
In what?
Vedas from a guru.
Brahmacharyam means what? Charati. You are walking in the path, given a path for the sake of knowing about Brahman, which means the study of the Vedas. Right? So then the question will come, and so if they are supposed to become a Grihastha, how will they earn? Grihastha is supposed to earn money. As a householder, you have to earn money. Right? How will they earn that money?
Academic qualification is also required.
So, along with the study of the Vedas, they also have the training or the learning with respect to a subject matter on what basis do they decide that subject matter, what they want to learn?
Based on their inclination.
Whether they will do Ayurveda or Dhanurveda, how would they decide? One is they will go as per their family this thing, because we analyze that. That is easier to do, conducive atmosphere is there. If it is not there, the second option would become as what is their aptitude? Is it any different from today's system? How does a student get admitted into even a KG, lower KG has got an aptitude test now. Correct? An aptitude test for the parents also. Why? Why? It is the same thing which has been there. It is automatic. They know that a parent who is capable of passing this test will give a conducive atmosphere for the child to study. Then only the results of the school is protected. Therefore, they are bothered about the aptitude of the parents. Right? So, based on the individual's aptitude, they study the optional skills which are there. So, everybody doesn't study Ayurveda. Everybody doesn't study Dhanurveda. Right? Depending upon their aptitude, they choose those additional. Now, there also the Guru plays a very important part. Because traditionally, yes, after Upanayanam, they are going for Gurukula Vasa. Right? After Upanayana, they are supposed to go for Gurukula Vasa and become the next father. So you say there are 5 different sets of fathers for a person. The next Acharya, and the Acharya's Dharma Patni becomes the mother there. That's why giving a helping hand at the Acharya's home is part of the learning process. It's not that they are provided with a hostel and food and everything is served there. They become part of the home there. So they have the additional learning which has to be done. So the Guru plays an important part. Don't we have those things now? Don't we have counseling sessions? Don't we have mentors to help the child decide? Okay, the parent may say, I want my child to become XYZ. But today, you have got that itself as an additional help which is there in terms of finding out what is your aptitude, what exactly do you want to do, and then decide so that you will excel, so that your qualities, whatever is given to you already, is being utilized in a proper manner. Because somebody is paying for it. Not just the parents, the entire society is paying for it. Entire society has to support the education. Correct? Now that is where you have to now link, traditionally, what is the age of Upanayanam which is given?
7.
For whom?
Brahma.
First of all, is Upanayanam only for the Brahmana Varna?
No, till Vaishya.
It is for the Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya. What is the Upanayanam age for each of them? Is it different, first of all?
12 and 16.
It is different. Why it is different?
Each is bestowed with performing certain set of duties.
Brahmana, it is, the default is what for a Jati Brahmana? What is karma that he is going to adopt? Karma, it will be Karma Brahmana. Correct? That is the default position. For a Karma Brahmana, what do they have to learn?
Vedas.
They have to learn more of Vedas, because they not only they have to do it for themselves, they have to learn much more to be capable of teaching others as well. Therefore, they have to spend much more longer time in the Gurukula. Therefore, their Upanayanam is done at an early age so that they get at least 12 to 13 years, considering it as say 20 years, they need that additional time to learn the Vedas, the Shakha of Veda, which is there as per their Jati. Right? Why it is different for Kshatriya? Why Upanayanam is done at a later age for Kshatriya?
Because they don't need to go in depth.
They need not study as much of the Vedas as compared to a Karma Brahmana. Right? Whereas they need to spend more time within the family to know what is happening. There's more practical learning which happens there. Then when they go to the Gurukula, that practical aspect is enhanced with minimum required mandatory learning of the Vedas. Vedas, they also have Upanayanam. They also learn the Vedas. But it is minimum. The mandatory part becomes minimum for them. Coming to Vaishya, how do they learn about the trade? It is mostly by observation, mostly by practical experience. Therefore, they spend more time with the parents. And then only go and minimum amount of much more reduction in terms of the mandatory topics, and then they just enhance the optional thing. Right? So this is but what is the ultimate goal? It is to know Brahman. It is through the Vedas. That is the ultimate goal. All the other things are incidental. Yes, I am born in a family, I have to do a karma. That is incidental. To support my goal of moksha through dharma. Money is incidental. Yes, it is required as a necessity, as an intermediary goal, as a means. That does not become the primary goal. Right? What happens after brahmacharya, after student life? Who decides that? Whether they should become a grihastha or not? The individual decides?
The father or the family.
Parents and the individual.
If they don't become a grihastha, what are the options? In a traditional system, there is no question of continuing to be a brahmachari for life. Yeah, though they are called as brahmacharis, if they didn't become a grihastha, so therefore they are continue to be termed as brahmacharis. But the guru has got a major role to play in that. That is why if you look at Puranas or even recent history of saints, etc., where the guru will tell. One example is Shankaracharya's, Adi Shankara's father himself, Shivaguru, where after the Gurukula Vasa, he was already a jnani, and the guru told him, no, you get married. Now you are done with the, now you have the permission, you go ahead and you get married. And he refuses. As per tradition, the guru says, that is a Veda Vakya. The guru has got his own reason to tell this, they just obey that. But Shiva Guru disobeys, and in the middle of the night he goes away from the ashrama. And when he was sleeping, Lord Shiva appears in his dream and says that, no, you have got a karma to be performed for the sake of the world, go back to your guru and do as he says. Therefore he comes back, takes the guru's blessing, then get married. Still, no child, they didn't have children. Then they again had to do tapas, to Lord Shiva, and then Adi Shankara was born. Right? For the sake of Loka Sangraham, in terms of telling that, yes, for the sake of that. So the guru has got a major role to play in terms of what is good for that particular individual. Right? Otherwise, the only option is sannyasa. Right? For a person who has gone through grihastha only, you have got a vanaprastha stage as an intermediate stage before going into sannyasa. Right? Everybody becomes a sannyasi ultimately. Yeah? We'll again see in detail in Bhagavad Gita what exactly sannyasa means. As an ashrama, yes, there are certain external process or procedures which are there for a sannyasa ashrama, but we'll talk about sannyasa as an attitude, much more in the Bhagavad Gita. So you got grihastha, grihe tishtati, being in the griham, and therefore you get married. You have a dharma patni, or more elaborated as saha dharmacharini. Right? What is the purpose of marriage? Again, the goal is not lost. The goal doesn't become different. The goal remains as moksha, if you have still not understood, as dharma, in the path of dharma, to protect dharma. And therefore, I need a companion to walk along with me, saha dharma charini, who is walking along with me in the path of dharma to help me protect dharma. Right? And therefore, it continues like that in terms of, yes, you have children, and then you have to earn money for the protection of the family, for the protection of the society, for sustaining all the other three ashramas. A brahmachari doesn't earn. There's no question of part-time job there. They just focus on their studies. Right? And they have to be sustained. Vanaprasthis are also not supposed to earn money. It is like a retired life. And then of course sannyasa ashrama, they don't earn money, and therefore it is a grihastha's duty to protect all of them. Right? And then vanaprastha stage is an intermediate stage. Just like retirement from the job. Okay, an age is given, telling that okay, by 60, this is as per this company rules, you have to retire at 60. Right? There are many instances, even in modern day, where you can see where there is a retirement syndrome, phobia. There's a fear of retirement. And basically, in terms of worrying about what will happen to me. May not be financially they may be secure, but the very thought that there is nothing to look forward to in the morning itself causes a problem. As many multinationals have got programs 5 years before retirement, they go through programs, where they ease out from the job, and then they are given training in terms of what they should be doing, and how to ease out into that kind of a living. So vanaprastha is in terms of a preparation, where I slowly withdraw, handing over, and I'm slowly withdrawing from that in preparation for sannyasa, which is a complete renunciation. Right? So in each and every stage, again there are karmas which are prescribed. Again, discipline means, I said karma, discipline means rituals which are there. What are the brahmacharis supposed to do? What are the rituals which are given to them?
After Upanayana?
Yeah, so after Upanayana only they are going to the Gurukula.
So he's supposed to follow the rituals, whatever is.
So they have been given in terms of Sandhyavandana, which is there, the prayers, other prayers which they learn. Anyway, in the study of the Vedas, they are learning that. Then they have got the Samidhadanam, there is a fire ritual which they are already started doing there. Which they are supposed to do again every day, not just once a year. Yeah. So that has to continue. And then once, as a Grihastha also, there is a Upasanam which is there. The fire, it is the family tradition, that has to continue. The fire ritual continues there also. Actually, it is supposed to be there as a Nityagni. It has to continue there itself. And it is the same Agni which has to be carried for the Antyeshti. So in today's situation, it is not done. So first a Prayachitta karma is done. And then that Agni is carried. So those who are doing the karma, the children have to do that Prayachitta karma for the sake of the departed parent. And that they didn't do it, so they do it on their behalf, the Prayachitta, and then carry that Agni for the Antyeshti. Right? So karmas are again given for a Grihastha. What is Pradhanam there? Artha is required, right? And then Dharma. So to protect Dharma, in the path of Dharma, again rituals are given. So traditionally, you'll say, okay, the family traditions continue. So you got a Kula Devam, or you'll have a Grama Devata will be there. Then on top of that, you are given the option, you can have an Ishta Devata also. You don't like your Kula Devata, but okay, I have to continue doing that puja also. Then you have got an Ishta Devata also. So given festivals are given, specific days are given, and in terms of what all needs to be done. So in Karma Yoga we'll discuss minimum 5 obligations are there which we have to do. Deva Yajna is part of that. In terms of understanding and respecting and having that reverence for Ishvara is a part of everybody's daily practice which has to be done, the Panchamaha-yajnas. Right? So, and then of course, once they say that when does the responsibility end as a parent?
When the child gets married.
Oh, is it applicable for the girl child, daughter, or the son also?
When they walk in the right path of protecting the family tradition and even bringing about the righteousness, that time the parents get satisfied and they feel their duty is done. As a parent.
When they become mature enough emotionally,
Yeah.
mature enough to take decisions.
As a minimum, yes, they say okay, education and up to marriage. So there is a responsibility. So even for the sons, for the sake of the son, there is a responsibility on the parents to ensure that a right marriage is being done. The modern day theories of telling that they can, above 18 they can let them do what they want. It is running away from the responsibility and avoiding a potential conflict. The mind takes the easy path. Responsibility doesn't end with education or job there. So that continues, and once it is done, that is when the Vanaprastha stage automatically it will start. Then of course responsibility towards parents will be there. Yeah, so that has to continue. Taking care of them, in their old age, doing the karmas which are required for them, and then only, they can go into easing out slowly into Vanaprastha, withdrawing from active life, withdrawing from Artha Kama Pradhana Karma into more of Dharma Pradhana Karma and leading it towards into Moksha. So that is why even in terms of studies, you will start studying more of Upanishads, etc. from the end stage of Grihastha leading into Vanaprastha. Right? Till that time it will be more of Vedic studies which are Karma Pradhana, the Karma Kanda portion, which are required for rituals. For their own rituals at home, for rituals in the family, for rituals in the society, for rituals in the temple. It's all part of their duty. Yeah, everybody's duty which is there. More for a karma brahmana. They have to do for the temple also. Yeah, the grama devata, the festivals which are there, it all has to be done by the karma brahmana. Right? From there they slowly progress into study of the Upanishads. That is why as a brahmachari, Upanishads are not taught. Now for
It's
a
taught only in Grihastha.
only in Vanaprastha actually.
Vanaprastha.
Yeah. Vane tishtati. Actually they are supposed to, literally means that they go in search of a guru. Yeah. This
Guru is for a whole lifetime.
need not be the same guru. So they have a Gurukula Vasa which was there during Brahmacharya Ashrama, right? And then the Grihastha continues and then it goes into the Vanaprastha. That's why unless you withdraw from worldly activities, where will you have the time to study this deeply? And we are not talking about just a weekly class there. It becomes part and parcel of your daily life. So Upanishads, so there also the prescriptions are there. There is every Veda which has got shakhas of Upanishads which are associated with that particular Vedas. But the ultimate message of each and every Upanishad is the same in terms of the Brahma Jnanam which is given there. So they move slowly into that study, and once you are a sannyasi, it becomes 100% only the study of Upanishads. Only that becomes Veda Anta. There's nothing else to be done because karma is renounced. Yeah, all responsibilities are done, everything is renounced, and then they move 100% into sannyasa. Right? That is supposed to be the normal process. Now what happens for somebody who the guru decides, no, you need not become a grihastha? What happens to them?
They are supposed to continue the brahmacharya, learning in detail.
No. The thing is that there are only two options there. After brahmacharya, you either become a sannyasi or you become a grihastha. Right? Which is the default position? Huh? The default position is grihastha. But where the guru feels that yes, you have evolved enough, you need not go through the travails of more karma, in terms of, because grihastha is karma pradhana, right? Where you go through the entire process of getting married, children, etc., living in the society, living among your own family, etc., then learning, then getting rid of your vasanas through those rituals. The guru has to decide. Again, it's not left to the individual saying that no, my first option is sannyasa, sorry. Where the guru decides as to whether this person is mature enough, has matured enough to go directly into the sannyasa ashrama. Yeah, because first of all, the society has to protect the sannyasa. There's a huge responsibility. Then they have to devote completely into the study of the Upanishads, of Vedanta.
So how does the guru decides that this person can take up sannyasa, and what is the basis for that decision being made by the guru?
Today also, if you really see, if our children have gone to a school with a particular, whom do we more depend for the actual feedback? They are spending more time with the teachers, right? So wouldn't it be possible for the teacher to really say, okay, what this child will be good at or what they will do better in terms of character, etc. That's why the actual behavior of the child is in the school, not at home. So the guru will have that capability in terms of telling whether this person is fit enough to directly go into the sannyasa ashrama. Yeah. So that is how you find that people who don't go through the grihastha and vanaprastha portions of the stages of life and go directly into the sannyasa ashrama. Okay. So Nitya karmas, so that is where when I talked about karmas, so you have prescriptions which tell us what are the things which are to be done. Nitya doesn't just mean daily, Nitya also means what is regularly to be done. Yeah? And then there are Naimittika karmas, which is nimittam, which is based on certain special occasions, like eclipse is there, etc., etc. So there are special occasions. So there are Naimittika karmas. So both are prescribed for for a grihastha. In terms of telling these are the nitya karmas to be done, these are the naimitika karmas to be done. Then what again one of the potential conflicts which we see today is the crossover of ashramas. Yeah, like you said, as a brahmachari, you are supposed to be only studying. Just focus on your studies. We tell our children also, don't worry about anything else. Just focus on your studies, right? But what happens today? Where you find that after studies you get into a job. When you say, oh, you have to be settled, so you get married. Then, because our goals are arthakama pradhana, we find that is not enough. As we saw, bandhakatvam, atriptikaratvam. Atripti will always be there. You say, no, I have to earn more. If I have to earn more, what? I have to study further. So I can go back to student life there. And what happens to the family? Right? There is dukkha mishritam, right? So there is crossover, you'll find. So you find in student life, when we are supposed to study, they get into a relationship, get married, then find that, suddenly you are in a family, then you don't have enough, so therefore you again go back to student life. Or you say that my goal is arthakama, therefore I will have children only after 10 years or 15 years, and when you are supposed to be starting to study Vedanta, you are still in Grihasthashrama. We see that happening. Why? Because the goals are not clear, because the priorities are not clear. Who will determine, who will explain those things very clearly to me? Either I observe and follow what my parents or grandparents did, or today we have to find additional methodologies like this to understand more. By the time, half of the life is gone.
So Nitya Karma, that includes the daily routine activity which a Brahman has to do.
Not just Brahman.
Okay,
anybody.
All the Varna
Yeah.
which they are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And Naimitika Karma is the...
On special occasions. Yeah. Okay. So then there comes samskara. So for a grihastha, you will have additional samskaras which are there. Now if you look at as one starting point, you can say Garbhadana. Then you got Pumsavanam, Seemantonnyanam. Then you got Jatakarma, Karnaveda. All those things are prescribed. For the child who is born, it becomes, the complete process the child goes through. Vivaha. Yeah? Then going through that. Then in terms of the Antyeshti also, though it is a karma which is performed by others for my sake, but that also comes as part of the total samskara which is there. Okay? And rituals, as we said, one is that the discipline which is instilled. The process, practical. It is given through a puja, or through even in Sandhya Vandanam, daily I am telling myself, Aham Brahmasmi. When I am doing the Arkyam, I am doing the Japam. Everything is, all sadhanas are included in the Sandhya Vandanam. Right? Physical part also, Namaskara is there. Everything is included in the Pranayama is there. Japa is there. Everything is a complete capsule which is given in Sandhya Vandanam. Right? And the second part is that to transcend tamas. We saw in terms of if I have to become a guna brahmana, I have to transcend tamas. Now the Shastra say at least get up and do something. You be selfish, earn money, more money for yourself, but at least get up and do something. All rituals. Why do we end up doing special pujas? Why do we end up doing functions for the sake of children? Last week, we did that. We do that every year. After the function is over, we say, wow, not again. There's so much of additional effort. But again, we again do. Why? For to transcend my own tamas and for the sake of others also. You'll suddenly find the surge of energy which is coming from everybody. There's a common function to be done. After that, you will suddenly even sit back amazed, saying that, oh, how did this all happen? There's a combined energy which happens. That is again for the sake of everybody. Rituals, festivals, why it is done? Annual festivals, why it is done? There's so much of effort which is required. It is to transcend tamas, so that we get up and do something, start doing something. Yeah, okay, at least be rajasic from that point of view. Rajas is better than that. So rituals are all doing a puja at home, inviting people, automatically the house becomes clean. You move around things, you set up the altar, the energy is different, etc., etc. Is again in terms of given, festivals are given in terms of doing all those rituals.
Especially in festivals.
Yeah.
I used to feel, especially for this Shankranti 3 days festival, eating festival.
Right.
Okay, maybe next time I'll think, okay, let me reduce certain things. But again, I don't reduce at all. The energy comes in for the next year.
Yeah. So that is what is there in the Ashrama Vyavastha, and as we discussed, it is for the sake of the individual's progress, right? But again, keeping in mind what is the societal role. So that is why within the ashrama you will find, within brahmacharya you have got to abide by the rules of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Within grihastha also you will have to abide by the societal infrastructure is not forgotten there. The societal framework is there. Within that I am given a framework for my progress, right? And therefore there are things which are prescribed for me as a grihastha. If I am a jati kshatriya and a karma kshatriya and I am a grihastha, I am given certain set of rules and rituals to be followed, right? Same thing applies for the other varnas also, because it is for the benefit of the society as well as it is like a department. In a particular company, there is a huge company, huge group which has got departments. So there is an overarching company's goals which are there, company's vision which is there, right? And then it is broken down. Everybody cannot get up and say, the driver cannot get up and say, oh, you show me the company's vision, then only I will start driving the car today. He need not know. He is given based on his level. He is told that this is your job. His job is it contributing to the company's vision? Yes, indirectly, because he is helping, he is transporting people who are doing the work, etc. It is ultimately for the company's profit to be achieved. But just driving is suddenly asked, how is your driving related to achieve company's profit? You cannot show a direct correlation, correct? So there are certain things within the department. So like that, even as an individual, I am given certain set of code of conduct, certain rituals which are given, but ultimately it is within the societal framework. What is the ultimate goal? My own journey, moving from a guna shudra into a guna brahmana, but at the same time ensuring that I help others also. I am not stepping on somebody else's toe just because I want to become a guna brahmana. You cannot become a guna brahmana by stepping on somebody else's toes. Yeah. So that is the overarching vision which is there. So any questions there?
You said about societal framework and personal.
Yeah.
So when there's a conflict between the two, which one is more important? Which one should one abide by?
How will a conflict come? Or why should a conflict come?
Conflict shouldn't be the same.
Can there be an example?
No, if there is a conflict, that's what I'm asking. If there is a conflict, then an individual, which one should he give priority to? The societal framework or the personal?
You just take the company's example. You got departments, or you got individual. Individuals are given goals. Individuals are given targets. And there's a department target which is there. And there's companies. If there is a conflict between two departments, it has to go to the next level. It is escalated to the next level of the group general manager. On what basis would he decide? What basis would he decide? Which is
good for the company.
Which is overarching, which is the betterment of the company as a whole, right? They'll say, no, with your limited understanding, you think that your department's goal is higher than that department's goal, but you are not able to see the higher vision. Yeah, there is a limitation. That is where you are today. Similarly, when it comes to the conflict between an individual goal and a societal goal, the societal goal is given importance. Because if the society is affected, there are so many other people will be affected. It's not to say that the individual goal is not important, but with a proper reasoning in terms of telling that yes, as an individual, you have to continue, you have to do this in terms of you have to accept this decision and do this thing, because otherwise it is going to compromise on the society. Yeah, you can extend it into a family this thing also. Start from the family this thing. What is good for the betterment for the family? You have to decide. Whether I will go for this, I'll go for that. You got a limited budget. What will you go for? You will say what is for the overall betterment of the family. The same thing applies. Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
You said Upanayanam, all these things what you have been explaining to us is only applicable to the male gender.
Mm.
What about women's role?
Very good question. Very good question. Any thoughts on that? Anybody has got any thoughts?
But as whatever I know is Upanayanam is also done for
Yes.
women.
During marriage, the Jatakarna,
No,
Namakarna.
that is now it is being done
Yeah.
just before marriage, but earlier I believe, because my son had his Upanayanam according to the Vedic rules, and that time it was told or explained to us that girls also go through the same process.
Right. Right. So that is where the function comes in. There is a dharma which we talked about. There is a Samanya Dharma and Vishesha Dharma. Right? So within that framework, there is also Stri Dharma and Purusha Dharma also. Right? Certain things as per nature cannot change. Right? So there is a Stri Dharma and a Purusha Dharma. But within that framework also, even when we say, the Upanayanam is done, what is it called? What is it called? It is called Yajna Upavitam. It's called Yajnopavitam. Yajnopavitam, Paramam Pavitram. So all these mantras. It is for the sake of performing yajnas. Yajnas for, again, within the framework of my karma and jati, whether I am doing that yajna for myself alone, for my family alone, or even for the sake of others. That is why a karma brahmana has to study much more, because he has to do so many of the other yajnas for the society, for the, apart from the family. Right? So, with respect to those roles, there was no pressure on the girl child in terms of studying and then contributing to the earning of the family. There was no responsibility. The responsibility was always with the male. Yeah? In terms of earning for the family. And the responsibility was there in terms of taking care of the family. Yeah? Why? In today's context, yes, you can have so much of debate in terms of then why did we end up in this situation? Or why is it not important for a girl to study and have a career? We can have endless debates on that. But the real purpose is in terms of telling that even there you find that if there is a conflict, what is the priority which is given? Where is the priority which is given? The mother would say, okay, let me take a break for 5 years, 10 years and take care of the family first. That is what is done in a very an understanding and cooperative mode. That is what is given priority. So we still do that. We still accept that is the foundation which is required. So from that standpoint, the extent to which a girl child needs to study is very limited. Yeah, not because they cannot study or should not study, they need not study. Yeah?
If you want, we can study.
Yeah. So that's why you have got a number of, you look at today's age as well as in the recent past, you have got Vedic Pandits who are there. Ladies who are Vedic Pandits who are there. So there is no ban in terms of that you should not study. The starting point is that you need not study based on what is your default position, what is your default dharma, the primary dharma which is given. But again, certain amount of dilution has happened, just like telling that only Brahmana karma brahmanas or jati brahmanas Upanayanam is done. Though of course there are still communities where Kshatriya, Vaishya, Upanayanams are still done. Now there are communities, a number of communities are there. Only thing is that we are not aware of it. So like that, it has come to a stage where there is no Upanayana karma specifically which is done at an early stage for the girl child. It is again a degeneration, a lot of degeneration has happened in the rituals. But still, but there's a function which is involved in the Vivaha Karma, Samskara, where the Maunji Bandhanam is done, where the husband becomes the Guru. But what kind of husband can become the Guru? Only if the husband has gone through the proper rituals and studied all this thing before entering into Grihastha. Right? So the Maunji Bandhanam is done, and accepting the husband as the Guru, so that becomes the Gurukula Vasa. And becomes the Kanya Danam, and you are going to a different house. In the case of the earlier system also, Gurukula Vasa, you are sent off from your parental home.
So the girls used to stay in Gurukuls.
Yeah. So it is there in the Upanayana ceremony, it is there in Vivaha ceremony also, for the girl. Yeah. Munji grass, it is done with the munja grass. Yeah. That is part of the accepting the Guru.
So there's one more question. In normal, whatever I know is, during Upanayana they say that the child should be in odd years. Is it like either the child should be 9 or 11 or 13 or odd years? Is there any I don't know about
Even for the boys, we say the seventh year you are supposed to do the
Right.
Upanayana. Sometimes
Right.
they say
If you
it
cannot
is
do it
in 1 year of the Garbha timing is also 10
Correct.
months is also added to it. So the rules differ from
Correct.
one another.
I'm not an authority to to specifically pinpoint what is correct or wrong there. But one of the principles which many of the acharyas, especially Kanchi Paramacharya, has talked about is that Upanayanam is not a social function. Yeah, Upanayanam is a family function, right? Because it's a very, very important stage in the samskara, in the journey of the child, Upanayana samskara. Yeah, and therefore it has to be done at the earliest possible, in the prescribed manner. So many times if you look at today's situation, what you see is that it gets postponed due to pressures in terms of telling that the arrangement has to be done, there is no problem. Acharya has told nothing is required, just nothing is there, do it at home. It can be just done at home. That's something which should not be delayed. With respect to the odd age, even age, this thing, there are multiple views there. That's why I told that I'm not, I cannot say authoritatively whether which one is the correct one. But there are guidances available there which I can share with you. Yeah. But Vivaha is a social function. Yeah, it is part of samskara, but there is also social angle to it. Whether two families, two communities are coming together there. It's a celebration. It is again a ritual for people to get together, etc. Whereas Upanayanam is not like that, where people who are assembled there should be just focusing on blessing the child. That is why the Bhiksha, starting from the mother, all those rituals which are in the Upanayana, starting from the Pitar Karma which is done the previous day, that needs to be done, and Andi Shradham has to be done. It is focusing only on the family. So that is why Acharya has given the guidance saying that don't postpone it because you are not able to arrange an elaborate thing like Vivaha.
But these days parents feel forgetting the financial part or making it as a very grand function. These days even parents avoid their children to get Upanayanam so early. Maybe because of the fear that they are to follow, or so many commitments are being pushed or forced
Correct.
on the child.
Correct.
So even the parents, they feel like, okay, this is not the baby is so tender, maybe can do it after some time. Because even for my son, we did that at the age of 7. But since we did it the tender age, he doesn't know the question and he is doing regularly until today.
That's exactly one of the other things.
Yeah, he is doing until today correctly. Whatever he is supposed to do, he is doing it. But there are parents whom we see that they say no, the baby is being overcommitted by so many commitments. So let him get relaxed
Yeah.
for some more years.
That is the parents'
Is that- yeah, that is the
justification
parents,
actually.
yeah. So is that correct? Or is
Technically speaking, it is not correct because you are putting a limitation on the child's capability. Actually, the capability increases after Upanayana is done because of the extent of prayers which happen. It increases. Sorry, Vasanthi, you were asking something.
During Nandi, it's actually taking blessings from the ancestors.
Right.
It is only the father's side
Correct.
or mother's side also.
It is primarily on the father's side. It is father's side.
Why
Yeah.
is that so?
Because at the time of marriage, it is automatically transferred in terms of whatever karma is being done. Yeah, he is in support of the generation which is there, of the husband. Yeah, so therefore it is automatically taken care of for that particular generation, and it is assumed that for the mother's side, that if there are no male progeny on that side, Shraddha Karma, it's an elaborate topic, but again, there is an additional effect which comes in by the people who are already performing Shraddha Karma. So when I am doing Shraddha Karma for my Pitrus, there is an immediate effect which goes to the 7 generations. Yeah, actually, that's why you got, in Vinaya it always goes in odd numbers. You start with 3, then there are 3 previous generation and 3 future generations are also benefited by that. There is an accrual process, in terms of how much is accrued for each of them. So immediate father, Pitru, they get a higher share of that. Then there is a share which is going into a global deposit fund. Because there's always this question comes, those who don't have sons, those who don't have children, how are they getting the benefit of it? So within that karma, whenever those who are doing it regularly, it is not only for the sake of their own family, there is a benefit which is going to the Pitrus for whom there are no direct descendants also. Yeah. So that's why in many cases, up to a certain point, the daughters continue to do. Now, even though not directly, but indirectly, they continue to do. There are only daughters. There are Pitr karmas which are done, still continuing up to a certain generation, they continue to do that. So whereas Nandi, as far as Nandi Shraddham is concerned, yeah, it is because the main Pitr Karyam is done with respect to the husband's generation which is there. But there is an automatic accrual which happens. That is why even the Gotra is changed. Why it should be changed? Is in terms of telling that yes, now you are supporting for the Kula Dharma of this particular family. But through that, your Kula Dharma is also achieved automatically. There is no need for a separate thing. That's why, any ritual which is done by the husband thereafter, the 50% automatically goes. That's the only place where 50% goes. Yeah. What about Papa Karma done by the husband? Huh? Is there a 50% there also? Like Valmiki, before becoming Valmiki, he came and asked. What happens to the Papa Karma done by the husband? Is that also shared? No. What about Papa Karma done by the wife? Who is 100%? Huh?
I think to share
to share the forthcoming generations.
will go forever.
You may be surprised. Recently I learned this. If at all, first of all I say that the Sahadharmacharini cannot do any papa. Cannot do any papa. There is no papa. They cannot do. If at all something is there which can be classified as a papa karma, 100% goes to the husband. Is that good news? Why it goes to the husband? Again, there's a reason.
Because he is the guru for
Ah.
the Dharma Patni.
So always goes to Guru.
Not deliberate.
But even they say so some papas goes to son also.
The forthcoming generations.
Yeah, from the family it goes. That's why 3 generations, why the effect goes. 3 generations down it goes. Whatever I am doing today, it is going to affect 3 generations down. Whatever I am enjoying today is because 3 generations up has done those punya karmas. That is why we have to give, it is part of thanksgiving also. Yeah, it is for their own gati part, all those things are there. But it is more than that, the remembrance, when we take their name and do all these things is because they have done so much punya karma because of which I am able to do it today. It affects 3 plus 3 down. 7 generation it affects.
This is one more question.
Yeah.
You talked about the 4 ashrams. You told about Vanaprastha ashram. So you are still in the home, in the house,
Correct.
along with the family, but you are following Vanaprastha.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But sannyasa, you are completely leaving the house and you are going to the.
That is-
Supposed to be-
That is, if you are taking sannyasa, if you are adopting sannyasa as an ashrama.
Okay.
Yeah, but we will see more in detail, in the Bhagavad Gita about Sarva Karma Sannyasa, where it is more of an attitude. It is an attitude which leads into moksha automatically. Because even in a ashrama sannyasa, where there are prescriptions in terms of the ochre robe, etc. There are rituals to renounce your karmas. That is why they renounce all karmas. They change. The name is also changed. That's why it's called Purvashrama. If at all they refer to their previous name, they say, oh, it is my Purvashrama. Even the name is changed. They do, the karmas for themselves and then come out, the rituals which are there in sannyasa. And it's not a simple thing, right? And then even Gayatri, there's not even Gayatri Jabam for them. The entire thing is compressed into Om. That is why for sannyasis, the main mantra, the only mantra is Om. Right? But then they go into the complete study, it is dedicated to the study of the Upanishads. Yeah? So that is where the Guru's role comes in. Yes, they are capable of directly going from this. They have gone through their vasanas, etc. They were capable of going into sannyasa ashrama and therefore they step into sannyasa ashrama. Whereas for a grihastha, yes, you will find sannyasis who have gone through grihastha ashrama and then taking sannyasa. There's slow withdrawal as vanaprastha, etc. But it is there for everybody, it is applicable for everybody in terms of sarva karma phalatyagam. We'll see that. Yeah, where it is more of an attitude, which doesn't have any, you can still be a grihastha but still be a sannyasi with respect to your attitude. And we'll keep this going. It's got a lot of implications in our daily life, lot of challenges, lot of apparent confusions, and again the question of what is right, did I do the right? The first question always comes is, so after knowing all these things, did I, whatever I did till now, was it right, was it wrong? There's a potential guilt feel. Till now I didn't know, so therefore there was no problem, but today need not. There's always a starting point in terms of within that framework. Yes, what can I do? Yeah, so even when again referring to Kanchi Paramacharya as the Devatin Kural or the voice of God, you should read that. Where 50-60 years back itself he has told about what are the potential issues of modern times. And he says that yes, I am not telling all of you to just drop everything and then get back to your traditional things, etc., etc. He said just stop doing what you are not supposed to do itself is a big contribution which you can do. Even with respect to environment, everything. That's why the Ashtanga Yoga starts with Yama. Just the don'ts. You just stop doing what you are not supposed to do. That itself is a big start. It's a jump start for ourselves as well as for the next generation. You're just telling that only. Then on top of that, you can build on it. Today, many of the times we don't do what we are supposed to do just because of Arthakama Pradhana. Our goals are Arthakama. Therefore, we don't. We will find thousands of excuses for not doing what we are supposed to do. Is it okay? Fine, but at least start small. Okay. So the next sessions will start with Karma Yoga. So now we have talked about infrastructure. Then the question comes, okay, infrastructure is but what am I supposed to do? So there's a sadhana which is given. The sadhyam is the goal. As a sadhaka, I become a sadhaka, and then there's a sadhana, the way, the path. What should I actually be doing to achieve those? Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.